Here we are again, Magic fans, another season. We've had the rebuild. We've had the rebuild of the rebuild. We've had the rebuild of the rebuilt rebuild. This is getting so confusing. This Magic rebuild has taken longer than the I-4 eyesore. The original rebuild started 6 years ago when Dwight Howard, the Dwightmare, forced his way out of town because he thought the grass was greener on the other side of the fence. As we know now, the grass wasn't greener, it was just fertilized with a bunch of BS. Amazingly, Dwight's on his 4th team since the Magic rebuild began, and the Magic here at home are on their 4th coach. Let me see if I can name them all. There's Jacques Vaughn, there's James Borrego, briefly, there's Scott Skiles for 1 year, and now, of course, there's current Magic coach Frank Vogel. Rob Hennigan, the young GM whom the Magic hired to start this rebuild, was fired last season after 5 miserable years. It was the worst 5-year stretch in Magic history and the 2nd worst stretch in the NBA over that span. Ironically, Rob Hennigan was just hired by the Oklahoma City Thunder as the vice president, this is true, the vice president of insight and foresight. If you ask Magic fans, he should have been hired as the vice president of hindsight and blindsight. And that brings us where we are today, a new season under new management. Will the Magic be significantly better this year and give fans and dancers something to cheer about? Well, probably not, but at least there is hope moving forward that these veteran basketball minds actually know what they're doing. Hennigan was a 30-year-old kid when the Magic hired him. With 63 years of NBA experience, Weltman and Hammond were working in the NBA when Hennigan was in diapers. How did the Magic get to the playoffs? Front office leadership is great, but we all know it starts with these guys, the players. Okay, we understand the Magic were bad last year. 29 wins and 53 losses bad. But maybe there's a silver lining, at least a semi-silver lining. Hey, it's the beginning of a new season, so let's not be nattering nabobs of negativity. I'm the Prince of Positivity today. Just call me Prince Pie in the Sky. Listen to this. When the Magic traded Serge Ibaka and added Terrence Ross to the new starting group, they played much better than you probably think they did. Post-trade, the new starting lineup had the 10th best net efficiency in the league. Net efficiency is a very, very important analytic, and don't you forget it. How did it happen? Well, Aaron Gordon switched from small forward back to his natural position, power forward, and his numbers skyrocketed up. In numerous categories, Elfrid Payton, Nick Vucevic, and Evan Fournier's numbers also spiked. In the end, though, it was the worst bench in the league that did in the Magic. In 2016, the Magic spent $100 million on reserves, Bismack Biyombo and DJ Augustine. Thank you, Rob Hennigan. Looking for more bang for the buck this offseason, the Magic added Jonathan Simmons, Aaron Aflalo. Hey, welcome back, Aaron. Maurice Spates and Shelvin Mack, added them for a fraction of that money. And don't forget 19-year-old rookie Jonathan Isaac from FSU. Isaac, Simmons, and Mack should bolster the defense coming off the bench. Spates and Aflalo should aid with much needed perimeter shooting. So the Magic formula for Orlando in 2017 might be as simple as the starters continuing to build off last season's late-year success combined with a drastic improvement from the bench. And it sure wouldn't hurt if Aaron Gordon or Elfrid Payton transformed themselves into the stars the Magic thought they would be when they were drafted. The roster you see this season may not necessarily be the roster the Magic have moving forward. In fact, Orlando Sentinel beat writer Josh Robbins spoke with Jeff Weltman about that and many other topics.
The offseason's done, but mid-October is the deadline to potentially extend the contracts of Aaron Gordon and Elfrid Payton.
Obviously, there are relationships there. There's an understanding that we need to probe those situations.
The franchise has a decision to make whether it makes sense to extend them now rather than to have them go into restricted free agency?
One thing I can tell you is they're both very talented and they're both very high character guys who want to win. These are where rookie extension negotiations go. Here's what the player's worth today. Here's what we all think that he can become one day. And somewhere in the middle there, is there a deal to be done?
Is there a reason why fans who have followed this team for a long time should feel optimistic about the 2017-18 Magic?
I think so. We've tried to address issues that were on the roster. We've added to our depth. We have positional competition. We're excited about our young players. And for the first time in several seasons, we'll have a carryover coach. So we'll have the same training camp this year that we had last year.
How does a team where the young nucleus, who have known nothing but losing here, how does the organization get them to believe in themselves and in each other again?
If you were to ask any one of those players, are you a winner? They would say, yes, I'm a winner. What we need to do is collectively instill the habits and the discipline and the belief that they can get there together. And that's a big part of it. The chemistry and the way that guys fit together is the unspoken part of what makes teams, what separates good and bad teams.
The Magic have a new front office. They have a bunch of new players, but they're not playing in a void. There are a lot of other teams in the Eastern Conference the Magic are going to have to contend with if they expect to make the playoffs. Okay, so there's 15 teams in the NBA's Eastern Conference. Only the top 8 qualify for the postseason, and over the last 5 years, the Magic have finished no better than 11th. But there's good news. Some teams who finished ahead of the Magic, like the Hawks, the Bulls, the Pacers, they're rebuilding. They may have opened the door for Orlando. Come on in, Orlando. Even without Kyrie Irving, LeBron and the Cavs are still the team to beat in the East. The new-look Celtics, who added Irving and Gordon Hayward, they will likely battle Cleveland for the top spot in the East. John Wall and the Wizards pushed the Celtics to Game 7 last year, should remain near the top of the standings. Toronto may take a little step back in the seeding, but the Raptors are still a safe bet to make the playoffs. With the Greek Freak leading the way, the rising Bucks are in as well. 4 bubble teams lost star players and are expected to take a step backwards. I'm talking about Jimmy Butler, Paul George, Paul Millsap, and Carmelo Anthony. They all went out west, making it possible that the Magic could leap the Bulls, Pacers, Hawks, and Knicks. Okay, we're eliminating Brooklyn because, well, they're Brooklyn, so that means 5 teams for 3 spots. The Heat narrowly missed the postseason, but went 30-11 in the second half last year. Eric Spoelstra, one of the great coaches in the league. The Heat will almost certainly be back in the mix, so now we have 4 teams for 2 spots. After years of tanking, the Sixers are finally ready to actually start trying to win. So now we have 1 spot. 3 teams, Orlando, Detroit, and Charlotte. Detroit and Charlotte finished 10th and 11th respectively a year ago. Stan Van Gundy's Pistons added Avery Bradley, and our old friend Dwight Howard joined the Hornets, but those acquisitions do not guarantee a spot in our postseason. In fact, we're going to predict on the last day of the season, Orlando wins to clinch a spot in the playoffs. What better way for the Magic to move into the future than by erasing their past, Dwight and Stan, from the playoff picture? Here's hoping the Magic thrive under the new management team and actually start making some astute personnel decisions. Here's hoping the Magic somehow, some way can make the playoffs in the weakened Eastern Conference. But most of all, here's hoping that the endless rebuild comes to a successful and merciful end. Who's got the best hair on the team, Elfrid Payton or Jonathan Isaac?
Payton.
Really?
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go with the vet. I'm gonna go with Elfrid.
Definitely Elfrid. I mean, the Rook doesn't get any props yet.
I'm gonna still get that crown to EP. Gotta give me some time to analyze them both.
I give it to Elfrid, man.
Why?
I like it. His is unique.
Totally 2 different styles. Probably give both of them a brush or a comb for Christmas.
Who's got the best hair?
Man,
I don't know if you call it the best hair or the worst hair.
So, the first thing we gotta do is cut that hair. That's the first thing we do. And then we move on to the next thing. But
So you think they need to cut it?
they need to cut it. It's awful. It's bumping and flopping and all these things. Too much going on.
What is it? The
The
floppy?
flop. I don't know. I call it the flop, but I like it.
I think EP still hold the crown, but John is on his way though. He's on his way.